Now, let's give the floor to our last team of the day, Team EMN.
Thank you, Marco. Whoa. So many great presentations. So many great presentations today so far. But yeah, we're almost done, so bear with me. Should I use this? Is it ready? Okay, thank you. Does it work? Yeah, sounds familiar, right? That was a diesel bus. Noisy, smelly. Oh, and that's an electric bus. It's quiet, emissionless, beautiful. More and more cities around the world are trying to push towards the electrification of their bus fleets. And, well, it's a response towards a growing problem of not only local emissions, but also sound pollution. And somebody must make a decision. Somebody needs to make it happen. And let me introduce you my friend. Meet Harald. Harald is a manager at one of the largest European public transport authorities. And he has been given a task to study, research, and eventually plan the transition from diesel to electric buses. So, what should Harald do? You would ask. Well, Harald wants to do it the old way. In other words, he wants to start a tendering process and then pick from the available solutions what he thinks are the best ones. But unfortunately, this is not going to happen, at least not now. In order to do this, Harald needs to answer several questions, very important ones. What routes are more suitable for electrification? Where to put the chargers? I mean, bus chargers. So that to ensure most reliable and stable operation of these routes. And of course, how large the electricity bill will be compared to existing diesel fuel costs. This and other important questions, along with the amount of initial investment, result in very high level of uncertainty. And it makes the transition towards electric buses unnecessary, complicated, and costly. So, basically what Harald can do is buy a bunch of chargers, place them maybe here, and another one maybe here, and see if it will work. Well, that would be a waste of time and money, of course. Nobody does it, let's face it. Instead, Harald, as a smart man, he would hire a third-party consulting firm, consulting agency, to run a feasibility study, to make some calculations, and maybe provide him the answer to these questions in half a year or a year. So it seems that Harald doesn't really have an option that would be fast and cheap. Well, Harald didn't have an option up until now. We wanted to help Harald and people like him to get all the necessary answers before they even realize what the questions are, how smart it is. And that's how Ruti was born. Ruti is a user-friendly, easy-to-use decision support system. It allows Harald to evaluate existing bus and charger solutions in the context of his own city with existing bus routes and timetables without even leaving his office. Ruti will provide Harald with instantaneous results on the feasibility of various combinations of buses and chargers, and that will save time and also give Harald the freedom to find out for himself which solutions work and which don't. In addition to that, Ruti will make an estimation of the energy cost that would require to run each route with electric buses. and also compare that energy cost to existing cost of the diesel fuel. That will allow Harald to estimate how much money can be saved in 1 month or even 1 year. The last, but not the least, advantage of Ruti is that it will give Harald the amount of emission reductions achieved on each route when it goes electric, so that Harald can back his plans up when he talks to high-level officials and the politicians. And we believe, our team believes, that with all this functionality, Ruti will eventually reduce the level of ambiguity and lower the threshold for adapting electric buses, so that more and more cities around the world can improve their air, cut the local emissions, and through that, improve the lives of their citizens. And I think some of you already took a look at our prototype back in our booth, but for those ones of you who didn't have the chance, I would like to present the product video that showcases Ruti in action. So let's see that.
Ruti is a decision support software which enables users of any skill level to plan the implementation of electric buses. This application provides insights into operating and deploying electric buses and the necessary charging infrastructure. The software lets users connect to volumes of data of various formats and visualize it in an easy and understandable way. It is not designed for specialists, but for the decision makers. Bus schedules, power grid constraints, and electricity prices are easily combined into simulations about the feasibility and operating costs of electric buses. Ruti is interactive and easy to use, providing instantaneous feedback and results. It will accelerate the tendering process by immediately providing energy companies, infrastructure suppliers, and OEMs with the required information. Having all the data readily accessible will empower the user to begin the transition to electric buses. Take a novel and exciting approach to adapting new technology. Ruti, in charge of the future.
In case you still didn't get who's in charge of the future, I would like to invite my team here in its entirety on this stage to answer your questions. Please welcome Team EMN. We have Henry here, and Mr. Olaf from Norway, Feija, Ilari, Pekka, Patrick, and Eirik. So let's begin the Q&A session. My name is Arthur. Of course, I forgot to introduce myself, and this is Harald. You know him. Old buddy Harald.
Who has the catch box? Who stole it? All right.
Thank you. What is the business model like? How do you make money off of this? Once you've sold it to Harald, how do you make money?
I think we have some business people on this team who can answer this tricky question. Come on, guys.
Well, hello? Can you hear me? Okay, that's good. So Harald is not the only potential customer we are aiming at. It's like, just think about, there are several stakeholders involved in this project. Harald is just one of them. And we will sell them, like, for example, Harald is a route planner, and he will be the first hand of this project. And also, we can sell it to the consultant company, and they will be much happy of having this kind of software to support their decision-making and to help them to communicate with their potential customers. And on the other hand, at the city level, they need to validate the assumption and the test of the result provided by the consulting companies. In that case, we can help them to evaluate the tender process and help them prepare better for the tendering process and make better decision. So in that case, we have multiple solutions for our software. And as you can see, a lot of potential customers just on the air.
Okay, so you just buy a license and you go for it? No.
Well, this also depends on the investment. If luckily we can get a very good investment, we can also have our own startups. You know, and
But
on the other hand,
for the
if we
customer,
can, sorry.
for the customer, if I want to use this software, I just buy a license and I'm going
That's
for it. Or?
just following by my previous answers. It depends. You can buy the service, and you can also buy the license, and you can also just buy our team because we will help you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I have another question. I think they already use a lot of simulation-based when they do schedule planning, when they plan the routes. Does this integrate to existing planning software or traffic simulations?
Let's pass it.
Yeah, it doesn't have to. It kind of does, because in the software, actually, even in the prototype, we're using the public API available for basically everyone. For example, in Oslo from Router, and the same thing goes here in Helsinki from HSL. And we're using that data already. So we're kind of using their database where they already have planned the routes and the timetables, and we're using that data as a base of the software.
Does it take into account sort of traffic jams, rush hours?
Not at the moment, no.
Thank you.
So what would you say is the most kind of valuable part of the solution? It's that the guy who makes the decisions is kind of clueless and he has to trust consultants, so he kind of has all the necessities in his hands, or?
I think it's the fact that before starting the tendering process, the people have to understand what they are doing, what is the aim of the project, and without any knowledge of electric buses or the charging technologies, it's basically impossible to start tendering process. You cannot just like go to someone and ask for like, we need to buy electric buses. There are different kinds of electric buses. So they need to understand the problem, and they need to understand the possible solutions, and they can find the possible solutions through our software, and that will help them start the tendering process.
But yeah, it looks really good. Nice job.
Any more questions, anyone? Okay. Thank you, Team EMN.